de para Amito Kangala Krishna Krishna boli Daitava pache pache Amito Kangala Krishna Krishna boli O He Vaishnava Thakura Doira Sagara Edase Karuna Kori Vaishnava Thakura Doira Sagara Edase Karuna Kori Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Translation? What? Translation? Yeah. O Venerable Vaishnava Thakur, O Ocean of Mercy, be merciful to me, your servant, and purify me by the shade of your lotus feet. Your feet I humbly hold. Controlling my 6 urges and purifying me of the 6 faults, please give to your servant the 6 good qualities. Oh, give me the 6 kinds of holy association. I have sat down here in the hope of having your company. Alone, I find I have no strength to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare. I beg you, therefore, please be merciful, and with a particle of faith, give me the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours. You have the power to give him to me. For such is your power. I am indeed wretched, and simply run after you, crying, Krishna, Krishna. Jai. Yeah. Mm-hmm. ये बारो करो ना हो रहा এবারো করুণা করো Vaishnava Gosai Maro Karuna Koro Gosai Ebaro Karuna Koro Vaishnava Gosai Maro Karuna Koro Vaishnava Gosai Patita Pavana Toma bin ke hona Patita Pavana Toma bin ke hona Jaharani ke kate gele Papa dure jai Jaharani kate gele Papa dure jai Emona dayala Prabhu ke bakota pai Emona dayala Prabhu ke bakota pai Gangara parasha hoile Paschate pavan Gangara parasha hoile Paschate pavan Darshane pavitra koro e tomara gun Darshane pavitra koro e tomara gun Haristane aparade Tare Hari Naam Haristane aparade Tare Hari Naam Tomastane aparade Nahi paritran Tomastane Tomara hridaye sada Govinda Vishram Tomara hridaye sada Govinda Vishram Thomas Govinda kohena Mora Vaishnava Paran Govinda kohena Mora Vaishnava Paran Prati janme kori asha Charane raduli Prati janme Narotame Koro Daya Apnara Boli Narotame Koro Daya Apnara Boli E Baro Karuna Koro Vaishnava Gosai Baro Karuna Koro Vaishnava Gosai Patita Pavana Toma bine ke honai Patita Pavana Toma bine ke honai Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. O Vaishnava Goswami, please be merciful to me now. There is no one except you who can purify the fallen souls. Where can anyone find such a merciful personality by whose mere audience sends all sins go far away? After bathing in the waters of the sacred Ganges many times, one becomes purified. But just by the sight of you, the fallen souls are purified. This is your great power. The holy name delivers one who has committed an offense to Lord Hare. But if one commits an offense to you, there is no means of deliverance. Your heart is always the resting place of Lord Govinda. And Lord Govinda says, the Vaishnavas are in my heart. I desire the dust of your feet, of your holy feet, in every birth I may take. Please consider Narottam yours and be kind upon him. Shri Narottam Das Thakur ki jai. Ki jai.
Understand? Hare Krishna, we are reading from Srila Das Goswami Maharaj's book, He Lives Forever. So these are the lectures given by Srila Maharaj on the disappearance days of Srila Prabhupada. So he has been given for a few years, and that is compiled to this book, He Lives Forever. So we'll read the first lecture transcript. Hantasmin janmani bhavan mamam drashtum iharhati avipakva kashayanam durdashoham kuyoginam. O Narada, the Lord spoke, I regret that during this lifetime you will not be able to see me anymore. Those who are incomplete in service and who are not completely free from all material taints can hardly see me. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, 1st canto, 6th chapter, verse 21. This verse is from the 1st canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. The story tells how Narada Muni actually saw Krishna face to face by meditation, but Krishna disappeared. And Narada attempted to see him again, but although Narada tried, he could not see the Lord anymore. Srila Prabhupada, in his purport, describes that seeing Krishna is not mechanical. Krishna appears by his own sweet will, and he also lives out of his own causeless mercy. Just like the sun, he is not subject to our demands. Now, only a short time after the disappearance of our beloved spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, we are seeing so many things in this light of separation. And we can understand both separation from Krishna and separation from the spiritual master in the same way. Of course, the spiritual master is not Krishna, but Sakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastraya. Because he is the direct manifestation of Krishna, his coming and going are just as spiritual as Krishna's coming and going. Here Krishna has left Narada after giving him only a brief darshan audience. But then he communicates to Narada through transcendental sound vibration. Narada says, seeing my attempts in the lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words just to mitigate my grief. Of course, these are very extraordinary dealings. Narada was so pure that he was able to feel great separation from Krishna, and Krishna spoke to him, although Krishna was no longer personally present. And the words that he spoke are this morning's verse. Krishna next tells Narada, I have left you just to increase your attachment to me. And the same thing applies to the spiritual master. It should not be that after the spiritual master disappears, the disciples' attachment for him gradually wanes. That the devotees are sustained when the spiritual master is present, but in his absence, their memory of him deteriorates. And don't think that if you did not have personal association with Srila Prabhupada, you did not know him. Even if there is a fact, the opportunity to approach him continues. Many who had personal association with Srila Prabhupada feel that they did not take advantage of it. Yet, they also have the opportunity even now after he had left to increase their attachment for him. The association is something each of us deliberately has to cultivate. Everyone should desire intimate association with a pure devotee. If you don't desire that, you are as good as dead. Because by association with a pure devotee, you can develop love of Krishna, but otherwise it's not possible. You can never know Krishna by your own endeavor. You have to know him through the spiritual master. And we all know that the spiritual master is present in a spiritual sound vibration. That is even more important than his spiritual physical presence. So we have the opportunity to become intimately associated with Srila Prabhupada. And that intimate association means that you are serving and he is pleased by your service. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasada nagati kutopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna, and without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. There are so many aspects in understanding the disappearance of the great personality, the pure devotee. Here we see that his disappearance is meant to increase our affection and our devotion and our meditation on him. This is what Krishna says here to Narada. Of course, he also says that he left because Narada was not fully able to appreciate him. Narada was not completely pure. So it is a cause of lamentation. And this is another aspect of his departure. That when the spiritual master leaves, you realize, I never really knew him. I never took advantage of this great person. Such a great devotee will never appear again on the earth for hundreds of years. Yet somehow, due to my lack of purity, I did not get to know him or take up his service, heart and soul. That is a cause of lamentation. Krishna says, you would like to see me, but I will not appear before you because you are not pure. But on the other hand, the reason I have disappeared is so that you can understand what you have missed. And you can now feel and act in such a way that you can gain me before your life is over. So this is, we should deliberately cultivate. Increasing our attachment to Srila Prabhupada. And there are so many ways this can be done. You are all serving here in the Dallas temple. And you can cultivate Srila Prabhupada's association by remembering his activities within this temple, which were quite extensive over the years. Srila Prabhupada has his rooms here, and he visited here several times and performed so many activities. As you know, Srila Prabhupada installed these deities, Radha Kalachandji. Srila Prabhupada came for a visit, and the next day Krishna came. So he personally installed the deity, offered the first arati, and then went up to his room and wrote down on a piece of paper, Radha Kalachandji, the deity of Dallas. So it's very interesting that we also have exactly the same opportunity that Prabhupada visited here. We have Srila Prabhupada's room. We have pastimes of Srila Prabhupada in Melbourne and in Australia. Great transcendental adventures by Kurma Prabhu. So we are really fortunate to have connection to Srila Prabhupada in connection to our temple and in connection to our deities. Srila Prabhupada personally bathed Gauranitai. We have watched the video. We have the photos and the painting of that incident. So we can see how we are fortunate to have personal association of Srila Prabhupada through these memories. And this is a very interesting point that we read, that affection to the spiritual master and here Srila Prabhupada should increase as time progresses, even after his departure. And it's a conscious choice of cultivation of attachment. A very important take-home points for all of us. Here Sasrup Maharaj pointed out another point, that many of you may not have directly obtained the association of Srila Prabhupada, but no one is missing out. Everyone can still be connected to Srila Prabhupada. So it's a very instructional points. So we'll continue. So all these things are very auspicious and they should be remembered. His room should be preserved. By the way, today Srila Prabhupada's room is very well decorated and we will have our evening program there by reading Leelamrita and then performing the Arati. The pictures of him when he was here and things he said here, all these things should be kept in his honor. We have to take this opportunity to increase our service, and that is the proper way to respond to Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. In Vrindavan, the site of Srila Prabhupada's disappearance on November 14, 1977, the atmosphere is filled with feelings of separation from Srila Prabhupada. Naturally, one devotee came there from America and said, "Oh, there is an atmosphere of remembering Prabhupada that is so thick here in Vrindavan, you can cut it with a knife." And he was saying that in America he had sensed a tendency to take a stance of business as usual, to regard Srila Prabhupada's departure as not as important as things and to do business as usual. On my way back to America, I talked to my godbrother Harikesh Maharaj in Germany, and he was telling me that the devotees there went out and in one day collected a large sum of money for Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi, building of memorial. I mentioned to him that there was somewhere a tendency to take Prabhupada's disappearance without any change and to do business as usual. So he said, "Oh, that's not true here. Here it is business more than usual." He told how the devotees in Germany traveled to London to see Prabhupada just a few weeks before he had passed away. So they have a very special feeling for Srila Prabhupada, and this is good. Not that we have an official 30-day mourning period in which we don't perform any activities, rather business more than usual. Let us not take it lightly. We have missed our chance for future association with a pure devotee in his personal presence. We may not have been aware of the opportunity, but now we should be aware. Everyone knows the tendency. You don't appreciate something, you take it for granted until it's taken away. So now, at least in one sense, it's too late. So don't take this lightly. Actually, it's not too late, but we have to increase our service. And in order to do this, we have to churn the remembrance of Srila Prabhupada's instructions. What he wanted, his teachings, his pastimes, the significance of our relation with him, meditate on these things. It should be the most important relationship we have, the most deeply heartfelt. Let us meditate on how he is taking us back to Godhead. And if we have any feeling for anyone else, it is Srila Prabhupada who is able to grant him liberation from material misery. Therefore, we must at least maintain what he has given us and try to increase it. This means following the 4 rules. Here in the purport of Srila Prabhupada's mentions, worshipping the deity and chanting Hare Krishna. If you want to get closer to Srila Prabhupada, then just chant. Years ago in Boston, I asked Srila Prabhupada, Because we were always thinking that Prabhupada would leave sooner or later, Srila Prabhupada, now that you are here, we can ask you so many questions and get directions and guidance. But how will we be able to get that after you are gone? And he replied, the name of Krishna is not different from Krishna himself. Do you understand that? So, if you are actually sincere and chant, anything is possible for Krishna. Here we see it's even possible for Krishna to talk to devotees. So, it can also be possible for the spiritual master to talk to the devotee from within his heart. Who can say that it's not possible? If Krishna wants it to happen, it can happen. If we chant the holy name, we can know Krishna, we can know our spiritual master, we can know what to do. Our godbrother Giriraj Goswami gave a nice example comparing ISKCON to Srila Prabhupada's body. Prabhupada has used different metaphors. Sometimes he has said, the books are his heart. The book publishing and the book distribution are his heart. He has called the money his bloodstream. If someone misspend money, it's like taking his blood. So these things are continuing. His instructions and our response to them. If some devotee knows that Prabhupada wants these Krishna conscious books distributed, and if the devotee goes out and distributes them, despite all the difficulty and austerity of that service, then certainly, just as Srila Prabhupada was pleased before, he will continue to be pleased. And the devotee will come closer to his spiritual master and so become happy and more assured of his spiritual position. Don't think that now there is a difference in this method of pleasing Srila Prabhupada. Don't let any deterioration occur in any of the standards or departments or programs of ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So here, very practical instructions of Srila Prabhupada is coming. One is about chanting. So how to get closer to Srila Prabhupada. One of the prime instructions of Srila Prabhupada is to chant properly, coming to the standard of pure chanting, which is a long way ahead, at least attempts to chant properly. And second, Srila Prabhupada was pleased whenever books were distributed. So tonight we will read this pastime that even Prabhupada was bedridden, but that time he wanted to hear the book's course. So he didn't want to hear anything else. He didn't want to hear anything about the managerial affairs. But in Vrindavan, he wanted to hear about the book distribution and book distribution's course. And devotees would come and they would say, okay, these are the new books published and these are the book distribution course. So Prabhupada was very pleased with that. So the process of pleasing Srila Prabhupada continues to be the same. So that is a very interesting point, and by that one can get closer to Srila Prabhupada. So here, very interesting point, Satsvarupa Goswami mentioning, book distribution is his heart. Books are his heart. So a very, very important statement regarding book distribution, and especially marathon to come. But apart from that, regarding the money is like my blood. Money is his bloodstream. If someone misspends money, it's like taking his blood. So we can see very practical instructions. So here Satsvarupa Goswami Maharaj is telling that these instructions continue in our life, and these instructions have to be remembered. So in that way, we have to always keep alive Prabhupada memories. So that is an essential point, because keeping Prabhupada's memories alive means keeping his instructions alive, along with his pastimes. And when his instructions are alive in our heart, then we can follow those instructions. If you don't remember Prabhupada's instructions, then it is impossible to follow. So that's why Smaranam is very important before actually acting. Now, We will all speak a few words in glorification of Srila Prabhupada. Then we will see how time goes. Then we will do accordingly, kirtan or reading. Om Jnanativarantasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Kauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. It's our great blessings to be in presence of Srila Prabhupada in this way and to attempt to speak some glories of Srila Prabhupada. The Tirobha Mahotsav of Srila Prabhupada is as important as the Vyasa Puja Mahotsav. The reason is, when a great Vaishnava is born, the world doesn't know about the glories or activities or teachings of such a great Vaishnava. However, when such a Vaishnava departs from this world, the whole world knows his glories, because such a pure devotee has already enacted his pastimes, has delivered so many instructions for the well-being of the entire humanity. So, when Srila Prabhupada departed from this world, the whole world knew about it. It became the main headings in newspapers, and everyone knew about Srila Prabhupada's departure. So in that way we can see that the departure of a pure Vaishnava is very significant. That is one. Second, especially regarding Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada agreed to record in video his final pastimes. Why? He was giving his final lesson. So Srila Prabhupada wanted everyone to learn from his final lesson. So we will also read that tonight in Srila Prabhupada's house. So he wanted to show the whole world and the devotees how to leave this world. So this is very significant. And it is profound how Srila Prabhupada departed from this world. How can one be in so much connected to Krishna, so much in Krishna consciousness, while leaving this world? In the Kartik month, in Vrindavan, in the association of the devotees, in the temple, while Kirtan is being going on. So it is such an amazing pastime. Even though it is difficult to see such kind of videos, it is heart-touching. At the same time, it is an important lesson for all the devotees. I was thinking about this today morning, and as the Kirtan was going on, then I was thinking, what an example that Srila Prabhupada set for the entire world. For us, now, we can see, or at least personally for me, the mind goes everywhere. So mind is not in control. And the thoughts are sometimes about Krishna, many times it's not about Krishna. And from there, Srila Prabhupada is setting the example that even when he was departing, he was chanting Krishna's names. So I was hearing this lecture by Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, wherein he mentioned this point that the Kaviraj was sitting next to Srila Prabhupada. Kaviraj was there. This is the last maybe 24 hours before Srila Prabhupada left this world. And the Kaviraj, the Ayurvedic doctor, told the devotees that only he will live for a certain amount of time. He gave a few hours calculation, and that's about it. that point, the devotees decided to open all the windows and doors, and all the devotees now were present in Srila Prabhupada's room in Vrindavan. So at that point, devotees were vigorously chanting Krishna's names, everyone around Srila Prabhupada. And before the departure, before the last breath of Srila Prabhupada, they could see that devotee was telling, even Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj was telling, that they could see Prabhupada's tongue was moving. And Maharaj told that, look, Prabhupada is chanting even at the last minute, at the last moment. So this is the topmost standard. And in our lives, we can see, or at least personally for me, I can see how difficult it is to fix mind all the time on Krishna. It is such a challenge. And even when things are fine, health is okay, the mind is clear, even in that condition, it's so difficult to think about Krishna. It's not so easy to be in Krishna consciousness all the time. There are challenges because of the material contamination. So in other words, reflecting on the point of the 6th chapter of 1st canto, which Sasrupa Maharaj quoted, we can see that since we are materially contaminated, forget about the direct presence of Krishna, even otherwise, just thinking about Krishna and thinking about the pleasure of Krishna is difficult. Because if we have material contamination or if we have material desires, we are distanced from the pleasure of Krishna. So on a practical level, our life has to be directed so that we can think about Krishna and we are thinking about the pleasure of Krishna. But because of material contamination, we are even distanced from that. So that is the current situation of my mind, my heart. That's the reason it's very important to meditate on Srila Prabhupada. And as we read in this lecture transcript, Maharaj mentioned that this is an opportunity to get connected more to Srila Prabhupada. The Tirobhava Mahotsav is an opportunity to go closer to Srila Prabhupada, and that can only be done by following Prabhupada's instructions and increasing the service for Srila Prabhupada. So on this auspicious day, important day, I pray to Srila Prabhupada that I can do more service for Srila Prabhupada, more sincerely, being more responsible, and within my heart, keeping Srila Prabhupada's instructions and thinking about Krishna. So that is prayer from my side on this day, and I humbly pay respect unto your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रस्ताय भूतले श्रीमती गुरुजन प्रभु इति नामिने नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण प्रस्ताय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्री इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्यता देशितारिणे Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we see how Srila Prabhupada has affected all our lives in many ways. One thing I would like to glorify is when Srila Prabhupada went to US, he had a trunk full of books of Bhagavatam, and that's what he strived to. His whole journey in Vrindavan, in Radha Damodar temple, it was writing these books, and then he took those books to US. And there were only two things which we can see from Lila Amrita. One was Bhagavatam and the other was chanting the holy names, which he had full faith in. And we can see the result of those two things that he took to US. So in many ways we see how Srila Prabhupada has created these hubs in different countries. And these hubs are nothing but the entrance to spiritual world. And we can be linked, as Satsvarup Maharaj was speaking, even though Srila Prabhupada has left this planet, but we can still be in touch with Srila Prabhupada by these hubs. And these hubs are nothing but the temples, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the devotees Srila Prabhupada had association with. And in LinkedIn we see like how many connections, like you are more popular, the more connections you have with different personalities and higher ranking personalities. And we see this is what Srila Prabhupada has created, a LinkedIn which is known as ISKCON, where all the devotees come together and they have created this massive link to Krishna and Golok Vrindavan. And when we come to this place, especially Melbourne Mahaprabhu temple, which was very dear to Srila Prabhupada, and as Prabhu also mentioned, these deities are personally installed by Srila Prabhupada. And in Vrindavan, upstairs, if you have gone in Srila Prabhupada's room upstairs, where there is a stairs and you go upstairs, there is a bed where Srila Prabhupada used to rest during afternoons. Just opposite to that bed, there is a photograph of Radha Vallabha. And that photograph, in fact, Radha Vallabha does not even have the conch shell eyes. It is blue eyes. So Srila Prabhupada had very much affection. He was very much attached to, of course, all the deities, but especially Melbourne Mahaprabhu temple. We have got this opportunity because Srila Prabhupada has personally installed these deities. We all know how Radha Vallabha were brought in a plane sitting next to Srila Prabhupada, and they came here. So this is not ordinary place, and many of the places Srila Prabhupada has established, they are not ordinary places. Srila Prabhupada himself visioned, and when Srila Prabhupada entered, I can see like this temple room has been repainted. And the first thing I thought was when devotees were speaking about when they created this temple for Srila Prabhupada's pleasure, there were a lot of things which are half finished and a lot of things. I remember one of the classes it was mentioned, it is mentioned in the book by, it was mentioned, even the front steps were not completed. So when Srila Prabhupada entered this temple room, and they thought Srila Prabhupada will appreciate, and Prabhupada immediately told, this temple is too small. So, and during festivals, of course, in last 2 years we haven't seen, but during festivals we see this temple is not sufficient to go around Govardhan, especially. So, and this was when Srila Prabhupada first entered, he could vision. His vision was like not today or tomorrow. His vision was these temples are going to be there for 1,000 years. And he could see that this temple was not big enough. So we see Srila Prabhupada has, the blessings from Srila Prabhupada has been flowing towards us. Even though we did not have the opportunity to be with Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada had his blessings on us, and even today Srila Prabhupada is blessing us all in his presence. And when we go upstairs in Srila Prabhupada's room, we all must have had this experience of Srila Prabhupada personally being there. Many times Keshav Prabhu has got his classes upstairs because the theater is occupied by something else. And when we go to Srila Prabhupada's room, there is a totally different feeling of hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. We could imagine how the words of the purports of Srila Prabhupada are spoken by Srila Prabhupada himself. So we can experience that. And the whole process that Srila Prabhupada has given us, it's not ordinary. It is like coming directly from Krishna, of course, but Srila Prabhupada saw that by following this process, as Swarup Maharaj also mentioned in his lecture, that just by following this process, we will be linked to Srila Prabhupada. And we can go back home, back to Godhead with Srila Prabhupada, just by following his instructions. And his instructions, his purports are his ecstasies. So just by hearing the purports from Bhagavatam, from different books Srila Prabhupada has given us, we can be in touch with Srila Prabhupada. I would like to finish with one question which I asked Guru Maharaj, Burijan Prabhu. So I asked him once, because Burijan Prabhu had a lot of association with Srila Prabhupada outside of India, in different countries. And I asked him, because once he was looking at Srila Prabhupada's picture sitting in Radha Damodar temple and eating prasadam. And I asked Burijan Prabhu, how would it feel to be with Srila Prabhupada? How was the feeling when you were with Srila Prabhupada? Of course, it was a stupid question, but the answer was, he immediately told me, it was like you are in Vrindavan. So Srila Prabhupada carried Vrindavan with him. It was never the time when Srila Prabhupada ever left Vrindavan. In whatever country, and Srila Prabhupada did mention, even if I am in New York, if I die in New York, it doesn't matter. You just build a samadhi on top of the building. So wherever Srila Prabhupada went, he took Vrindavan with him. So this is one, and Srila Prabhupada mentioned about this temple also. This temple is none different than Vaikuntha. So he carried Vrindavan, he carried Dham with him. So this is the potency of Srila Prabhupada, that he has given us Dham, he has given us holy name, he has given us Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which, and we are very fortunate that we can associate Srila Prabhupada by those things. Otherwise, what hope, especially for me, I can see, even before coming here, I had no knowledge about Krishna, Gaur Nitai, or any of the pastimes of Krishna. So I can see how the devotees are so potent, that process is so potent, that just by following the process and being in the association with the devotees of Srila Prabhupada, we can be linked to Srila Prabhupada in many ways, and we have been benefited. So today my only prayer is, on this day, Srila Prabhupada, please allow me to be engaged in your service and be one of the instrument in your service. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakya Chakshurunurtamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namale. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he is Adi Lila, Madhya Lila, Ante Lila. So the whole, when Mahaprabhu took sannyas at the age of 24, his birth, his childhood, youth, till the age of 24, he's finished everything in 5 chapters. And then when Mahaprabhu traveled to South India, when Mahaprabhu trying to establish and spread the glories of holy name and spread the giving the devotional fruit, 6 years he expanded in 24 chapters in Madhya Lila. So I was seeing that same parallel in life of Srila Prabhupada in Leelamrita also. The whole life where, when Srila Prabhupada trying to take this seed of bhakti, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam or the holy name outside of India, and then the trying to establish the ISKCON, the 1-year struggle in New York, we can see that many books, many devotees, Srila Prabhupada disciples, writing books on that particular episode of Srila Prabhupada, trying to establish the great, the society is very dramatic, and it's really melts anyone's heart. And even the Leelamrit, the great expand where Satsvarup Maharaj explains in great detail each and every character, each and every person who rejected him, who appreciated him, who did some service to him, who helped him, who did little bit of service. Everything was explained in great detail, just to bring that scene. When we imagine it is really, we feel that this is impossible feat. Because it's like the story of Raghunath Goswami trying to meet Mahaprabhu. So many obstacles come, but he never give up. He never give up. Oh, this is done. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada, when he was trying to establish, every door is being slammed at him. There was not a glimpse of hope that something would happen. And so when I read that, really it's, I feel like not even, like 1% of what Srila Prabhupada has put as effort to spread. So this is really motivating and actually bringing out that I should do something for Prabhupada. So Prabhupada as actually, there is no reason, whether one is his age, the capital or money or his time, everything is like in the verge of anything happen anytime. So if that person can do so much for Krishna, then always we feel there is hope for anyone to do something for Krishna. So really I admire the Srila Prabhupada effort, and that one is really make me more grateful and more surrender and do something for Srila Prabhupada mission. And especially the temple what we are in, Melbourne Mahaprabhu Mandir, I can honestly admit that the Murti of Srila Prabhupada is the best close to the life of Srila Prabhupada. And I feel, I can tell you that I have not traveled anywhere, but whatever temple, wherever I've gone, I couldn't able to get that same connection what I can have with Srila Prabhupada. That's a fact that, even I think whoever I've seen first time, they think Srila Prabhupada literally sitting on the Vyasasan. And many people have actually asked also, is it life? Is it really there? So we can feel that vibration. We can, and every day the Guru Puja, we can at least, there is always a goosebumps moment in Guru Puja, where Srila Prabhupada personally receiving that offering, personally present there. He has walked in this temple room, he has given lectures in this temple room, he has bathed Gaur Nitai. So his vibration, his presence is still there. And same goes with our Prabhupada room, Prabhupada house. So there's always, and this lecture, what we heard, the transcript is again reiterating the same point that we have chance. So I would humbly pray to Srila Prabhupada this day that don't leave me, don't leave that, that the only connection, and that's the hope to continue in bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada's mercy is required and very much required to continue in the path of bhakti. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. One of the most important lessons that Prabhupada always taught us is that we are not this body, but we are the spirit soul. And that when if the soul leaves the body, then the body stops functioning. Body actually doesn't act anymore, doesn't work anymore. So if we say that Prabhupada is, this ISKCON movement is Prabhupada's body. We can see how the body is still growing, and so that means the soul is still present. Prabhupada is still present in this movement. Otherwise, like the Bhagavatam says that many institutions they appear to be very big, and then as soon as the founders leave, and then the institutions start to dwindle and die out. But with the ISKCON as a society, Prabhupada started it so big, and he left it very big, but then it has grown so much more, and that really says that Prabhupada is present in the movement, in the society, in the hearts of his followers, and we can, and it's like for many of the devotees here, they have not met Prabhupada directly in person, but we feel the same connection with Prabhupada, and through his teachings, through his instructions, and through the devotees who have met him. So, and it's also interesting to connect the future upcoming devotees to Prabhupada. It's almost that we're trying, when we're preaching, when we're outreaching, our first aim is to connect new people to Prabhupada before we even connect them to Krishna, because our primary preaching is it's the books. So we're reading from the books, we're giving books. So in that way, people are coming in contact with Prabhupada first, and then by that association, slowly they're becoming connected to Krishna. And so it's like for my in my attempts for outreach, I have seen a lot of people. Like I know this one person. He likes Prabhupada's books so much. He reads them regularly, and slowly he could compare. That these are the Prabhupada books, and these are the books by all the other bestseller writers. On various subject matters, and they're very good speakers, they're very good authors. But then after some time he comes to me, he told me that but actually nothing in compared to Prabhupada books. This is just like like Prabhupada is, there's no doubt that what Prabhupada is saying is true, and he said something interesting. That was his expression, that was his sort of a feeling towards it. He was reading the biography of Prabhupada and saying, this is very nice, and he was very inspired by that. But I said, I want to read Bhagavatam. I said, why do you want to read Bhagavatam? It's because this is Prabhupada's words, and it's like, even though Prabhupada's life is very inspiring, I want to read Prabhupada, I want to hear him, because nothing can compare to what Prabhupada's, when he speaks, and he listens to, he's a Western person, he's from Manchester, and he listens to Prabhupada lectures every day, and he says, this is like my nutrition for the day, So he and so many people like that, and we had recently we had a gathering of just some young boys, and I had the opportunity to glorify Prabhupada's departure, and they were actually very spellbound, and they were amazed to hear how even in the last moment, because some of the boys were watching this video documentary of Prabhupada departing. And they were so much like Prabhupada was so frail and so weak. And then I reminded, did you see in the documentary that how Prabhupada is departing and he's still translating Bhagavatam? And then they were so amazed to see that and to hear that. And there's a nice there's an expression, right, that says that a dying man never lies, or that a dying man tells no tales. So Prabhupada had no doubts that he can leave any moment. So he was not going to lie to the devotees, So he was really coming to the point, he was really telling the truth, pretty much from the very beginning of ISKCON, because he did not quite know how long will he stay for. So every word in his book is just so powerful, and it actually is something that can be like studied, like every paragraph in the purports of every single book of Prabhupada can be studied, can be made notes from, can be analyzed in so many ways. How Prabhupada explains this connection, explains this philosophy, and makes it so relevant for devotees. So so we really like to thank Srila Prabhupada for giving us this amazing books and an amazing society and the devotees, and on this very special day, we pray that may Prabhupada gives us this vision to be able to see clearly. Always we can see what is pleasing to Him, and give us the strength to be able to act on the activities which would please Him the most. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachitya Deshtarine. I would like to start by just saying that, just sharing a few points. That Prabhupada, one of the things is about Prabhupada's books, like what is our movement without books. The Prabhupada's books are our life, and Prabhupada says, everything is in my books, everything is in my books. There is one incident where Satsvarup Maharaj was in a certain place in America, and Prabhupada was there, and all the devotees were going to see Srila Prabhupada, and Satsvarup Maharaj